Fleabag is a brilliant two-season TV show from the mind of lead actress and writer Phoebe Waller-Bridge. It follows the life of the unnamed character of Fleabag, a woman who is constantly trying to balance familial bonds, a fledgling guinea pig-themed cafe, a failing long-term relationship, along with sexual escapades during those relationship breaks, and a personal life devoid of her mother and recently deceased best friend, Boo. The show is an intimate and comedic look into modern feminism and the mixed messaging of women having elevated societal expectations and an overemphasis on being sexually desirable, a theme that resonates with many female audience members. The show is actually an adaptation of a one-woman stage performance that was also written and performed by Waller-Bridge, based loosely around her own life. Not in the terms of events, but rather generalized approximations of relationships and issues that she and many like her find themselves dealing with in the modern world. This is shown to us primarily through the titular character turning and addressing us directly to tell us everything from her innermost thoughts.
He's gonna kill someone one day.
To her predictions on other characters' reactions to something she has just done or said.
He's gonna write that down.
This is what's known as a fourth wall break, and Fleabag may not be unique in their implementation as a storytelling device, but what sets Fleabag apart is how often these fourth wall breaks happen, and their use as the primary storytelling facet for our main character, and how this moment
We lost a week.
What was that?
changes everything. Breaking the fourth wall, also known as a direct address, is a film technique where a character in a movie or TV show turns to look directly into the camera and speaks to the audience.
They bought it.
This goes against every rule in writing, acting, and filmmaking, as it is typical convention to act as though the camera doesn't exist and for the audience to get lost in the artifice of the story. We aren't supposed to exist to the characters. We are merely meant to be silent observers of people acting genuinely without the knowledge of being witnessed. The term fourth wall break dates back to early stage performances of plays and is based around the world that the audience sees. As the audience sees the stage, there are three visible walls that serve as the backdrop for the actors. The fourth wall is an invisible wall that would separate the stage performers from the audience, and is merely implied when viewing a stage play or even a movie or TV show. The term breaking the fourth wall comes from when a character would turn to face the audience and address them directly, as this movement would, in theory, break the invisible wall that would be in that space. Most often, these direct addresses would serve to give backstory that is vital to the story or a character's inner monologue on something that just happened on stage. This style of storytelling has adapted to the advent of film and television, with characters turning to look directly into the camera lens to break the metaphorical fourth wall, rather than looking at an in-person audience.
Her. Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
The idea of the character that breaks the fourth wall giving inner monologue or information only they might know still rings true with the trope. But throughout the history of fourth wall breaks, one thing is pretty unanimously true: that the character speaking to the audience and breaking the fourth wall does so without anyone else on stage or in the scene acknowledging the aside. This is because the fourth wall break is meant to be our intimate view on the mindset of one character. It's tempting to think that this act would rip away the suspension of disbelief that is necessary to enjoy and immerse yourself in a story, because we are getting an unrealistic view of a character as they directly address us with their inner thoughts. But it actually tends to have the opposite effect, causing us as the audience to empathize with the character and have a more intimate relationship with them.
What do you think you're doing? Only me and Garth get to talk to the camera. Come on.
The fourth wall break is inextricably central to how the show Fleabag tells its story and how the character of Fleabag gives us, the audience, vital information on how she views the world people, and situations she finds herself in.
What's he thinking?
The show's writing takes great care to establish the fourth wall break as non-diegetic for other characters in the show by making the entire first scene of the series a fourth wall break monologue by Fleabag about orchestrating a late-night hookup with a guy that she likes to see from time to time. We watch as she outlines the entire event directly into the camera without the guy reacting at all, establishing that the direct addresses in the series are seen as asides in Fleabag's head. As the series progresses, we learn that these fourth wall breaks are a form of her inner monologue, and we as the audience are the internal sounding board of Fleabag, serving as a form of self-medicated therapy in response to her mother's and her best friend's deaths. But it has become such a crutch in her life that she cannot get through a conversation without escaping into a fourth wall break.
Tough crowd.
The one time we actually see her emotionally honest in a conversation is when she's talking with the loan officer at the retreat. Her conversation with him is the only time in the series where she doesn't have a fourth wall break. She's completely in the moment and doesn't need to escape into her inner world. She's raw and honest and still accepted by him. Besides this one scene, the main way which we learn information about the plot and our characters is through these fourth wall breaks. The catch-22 with having one character's inner thoughts function as the main driving force behind the storytelling and information reveal is that everything we learn has an inherent bias, and we don't always get the full truth. When Fleabag is trying to avoid the truth and lies to herself, she lies to us as well. This ties the show into another cinema trope known as the unreliable narrator, where our perspective into the world is through the eyes of one central character, but that character cannot be trusted to provide a reliable lens in which to view the world from. Think about Leonard from the 2000 movie Memento. Because he has short-term memory loss, he follows all directions from notes tattooed on his body and written on Polaroids. Notes that we learn are routinely derived from lies from other characters, as well as himself. This means anything we learn from his character's inner monologue that is guided by these notes is inherently untrustworthy, making him an unreliable narrator to our journey through the story. The brilliance in this kind of storytelling in Fleabag is the subtle moments of acting from Phoebe Waller-Bridge that we get to witness when Fleabag resists true introspection. The most obvious example of this is when we see uncomfortable body language and avoiding eye contact with the camera when a major revelation about Fleabag occurs in the first season finale. She actively turns away from the camera, desperate to avoid confrontation, truly vulnerable for the first time. Even still, the fourth wall break remains internal to Fleabag and unseen and unnoticed by everyone else in the series, except the biggest character introduced in the season 2 opener, the Preist. The Preist, or Hot Priest as he's come to be called, is the only one to see through Fleabag's fourth wall breaks and is the catalyst for how Fleabag changes those breaks for the better. From the first conversation that Fleabag and the Hot Priest engage in, he distinguishes himself by interrupting her fourth wall break, right as she's in the process of telling us.
No one's asked me a question in 45 minutes.
So what do you do?
It is a subtle but profound start to the change in Fleabag's fourth wall breaks. Aside from characters either confirming or going contrary to Fleabag's predictions,
You won't eat it. Thanks.
this is the first time that another person has had an effect on a break, interrupting Fleabag's personal aside with us in an almost prophetic way, as if he knew what she was saying to us. After this first meeting, we see the two of them hit it off, and they show early signs of a traditional romance, with some slight caveats that keep the show true to the theme set in the first season. Then the big change comes when Fleabag visits the Hot Priest after her sister's award presentation. As she talks with him, she continues to break the fourth wall by filling in extra bits of conversation with us. When suddenly, out of nowhere, he asks her,
What was that?
What?
Where did you just go?
What?
This is a step beyond mere interruption. He is now actively acknowledging the fourth wall break, engaging even more deeply than any other character has. It surprises Fleabag so much that she tries to face the camera again as a safe space away from the hot priest, trying to keep him from getting too close. It's at this moment we learn that Fleabag's direct addresses can actually be noticed, but no one up to this point has cared for Fleabag enough to see beyond the walls that she has put up around herself. This is where Fleabag's fourth wall breaks do something wholly unique by making the acknowledgement of their existence central to how the storytelling of the show progresses. The interruptions in the direct address continue when the next episode starts with her running errands with the hot priest, and she even slips up and says her fourth wall breaks to him directly.
Go somewhere.
No, they were already gone. His beautiful neck.
What?
What?
You just said his beautiful neck.
No, I said that.
Leading to a moment when she is entirely unsure if he is noticing her direct addresses or if she is losing her grip on when she's breaking the fourth wall or not. Later in the same episode, when they talk in the guinea pig cafe, he again notices her breaking the fourth wall.
It's a bit annoying, actually.
What is that?
What?
That thing that you're doing, it's like you disappear.
What?
What are you not telling me?
Nothing.
Tell me what's going on underneath there.
Nothing.
Tell me, come on,
No.
tell me.
Nothing. Nothing.
And proceeds to look right at the camera. In a move that is so shocking, the first time I watched it, I quite literally yelled out. These interruptions in Fleabag's fourth wall breaks are expertly integrated to not only reveal more about the relationship between the titular character and her new love interest, but as a way to chip away at the wall Fleabag has built around herself. This wall keeps everyone in her life from seeing the sadness she feels every day. But it also keeps her from acknowledging some of the things that she has done in her life that she is ashamed of. This is most apparent after the last time the hot priest sees her fourth wall break, as what follows this interruption is a montage of scenes from the two most impactful events that have caused Fleabag to cut herself off from her emotions: the death of her mother and the accidental death of her friend Boo after she learns that her boyfriend was unfaithful. Much of the show can be traced back to our lead reacting to one of these two events and refusing to come to terms with the loss of these two important people in her life and her own role in each loss and aftermath. Fleabag hides this part of herself away from the world in the form of the fourth wall breaks that have come to define the show, and has surrounded herself in the kinds of relationships that don't try to understand her on a deep enough level to see this kind of distancing. That is until the hot priest comes along. His genuine interest in Fleabag and desire for her, which goes beyond the physical, gives him the ability to see the fourth wall breaks are happening. And him calling attention to them establishes to her, and us, that this man is different from the rest in the show. He not only wants to see beyond the walls she has built around herself, but wants to genuinely help her heal from these traumatic events in her recent past. Fourth wall breaks in cinema are a tried and true method to have a character give direct and concise information to the audience in the quickest way possible. While their use may not be unique, it's refreshing to see a director take this age-old technique and find new ways to use it to tell a story. Fleabag is fresh and personal to Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and it really shows in the interactions of the characters with Fleabag and the moments when she lets her guard down. The full spectrum of human emotion is felt when watching the series in its entirety, and leaves you with conflicting feelings of hope and emptiness when this final moment plays out.
I love you.
It'll pass.
This is a sign of a truly amazing show that is well crafted in its writing as well as its execution. While only 2 seasons long, it's a masterclass of developing a story. And while you may wish it was longer, there's a respect for the audience in its length, and that it doesn't drag out the story to a point where the writing loses its bite and effectiveness. So what did you think of Fleabag? Did the fourth wall break strike you as much as they did us? Or did you find a different aspect of the show more impactful? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. This has been Cursory Analysis. Thank you.